Chapter 1. The mirror is not the enemy. Look at yourself, not the quick glance you give before rushing out the door, not the half-hearted look when you're adjusting your clothes or fixing your hair. I mean really, look at yourself. Look into your own eyes long enough to see beyond the surface, past the tiredness, past the doubts, past the silent comparisons that run through your mind. Look until you meet the person inside, the one who's been waiting for you to notice them again. That reflection staring back at you isn't your enemy. It's not your competition. It's not the sum of your mistakes, your regrets, or the opinions of others. It's you, the real you, longing to be loved, seen, and accepted without condition. But for most of us, somewhere along the way, that relationship was broken. We learned to see ourselves through the world's distorted lens, filtered by judgment, expectation, and noise. We began to measure our worth through what others thought of us, instead of what we truly knew about ourselves. You weren't born doubting your beauty or your value. You didn't come into this world thinking you needed to earn love. That was taught to you, conditioned into you, piece by piece, layer by layer, until you forgot how to love yourself without reason. And that forgetting, that quiet disconnection, is where most of your pain begins. The first step toward learning to love yourself more than anyone else is simple, but not easy. It's to return to that original relationship, the one between you and you. You've probably spent years trying to love others better, trying to prove your loyalty, your care, your worthiness. But when was the last time you tried to love yourself with that same effort, that same devotion? Self-love isn't about ego. It's about returning home. It's about remembering that before anyone else had an opinion of you, you already existed, whole, worthy, and enough. Think back to when you were a child. You didn't stand in front of the mirror criticizing your reflection. You played, you laughed, you explored, you lived with a kind of freedom that only comes from innocence, from not yet believing you had to be perfect to be lovable. And yet somewhere along the path, you began to shrink. Maybe someone's words cut deeper than they should have. Maybe you were made to feel small for wanting too much, for dreaming too loud, for simply being yourself. And so, you began to build walls, invisible ones, protecting yourself from rejection, from disappointment, from pain. But here's the thing about those walls: they don't just keep pain out. They also keep love out, especially the love that's meant to come from within. Every time you say, "I'm not good enough," that wall grows taller. Every time you compare yourself to someone else, it grows thicker, until one day, you wake up and realize you've become a stranger in your own life, disconnected from the one person you were meant to know best, yourself. But you can tear down those walls, not with force, not with shame, with compassion, with patience, with honesty. Start by asking yourself this: what if I treated myself the way I treat someone I truly love? What if you spoke to yourself with the same gentleness you use when comforting a friend? What if you forgave yourself for being human, for learning, for stumbling, for taking time to heal? You see, self-love isn't loud, it's quiet. It's in the choices you make when no one's watching. It's in the moments you decide to rest instead of pushing yourself past exhaustion. It's in the decision to stop apologizing for existing exactly as you are. Loving yourself doesn't mean you'll never wish to grow or improve. It means you stop believing that you must hate yourself to become better. Growth built on self-rejection never lasts, but growth built on self-respect, that changes everything. Because when you love yourself, you stop chasing validation. You start living from truth. When you love yourself, you stop needing to be chosen, because you already chose you. When you love yourself, you stop trying to earn worth, because you finally remember, you already have. You don't have to wait until you've achieved everything you dream of to start loving yourself. You don't have to wait until your body looks different or your life looks perfect. You don't need permission. You can begin right now, in this moment, to see yourself different, to stand in front of that mirror and whisper, I am learning to love you, not for what you've done, not for who approves of you, but simply because you are mine. Imagine what your life would look like if that became your daily truth. Imagine waking up each morning, no longer needing someone else's approval to feel enough. Imagine walking through the world with quiet confidence, not arrogance, not pride, but peace. That's the power of self-love. It doesn't make you better than anyone else. It simply frees you from the need to compete. The mirror is not your enemy. It's your ally. It's the reflection that reminds you who you are when the world makes you forget. When you can look into that mirror and meet your own gaze with love, not judgment, that's when everything begins to change. That's when you stop living for applause and start living from alignment. That's when life stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like home. So before we move forward in this journey, promise yourself one thing. You will no longer turn away from your reflection. You will face it, not to criticize, but to connect, not to search for flaws, but to see the truth. Because the truth is this: you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not less than anyone else. You are becoming, and becoming takes courage. The first step is not to change how you look, it's to change how you see. Because when you change the way you see yourself, everything else in your life begins to follow. In the next chapter we'll talk about why it's so hard to stop depending on others for love, and how to break free from that quiet addiction to approval. But for now, take one more look in the mirror, really see yourself, and whisper the words you've waited too long to hear. I am enough. You've just taken the first step. The rest of the journey begins here. Chapter 2. The addiction to approval. There's a moment that happens quietly, often without you realizing it. It's the moment when your heart starts to crave something it was never meant to depend on. Not love, not connection, but approval. It begins so innocently: a parent's proud smile when you get good grades, a teacher's praise when you perform well. The applause, the recognition, the validation. It feels good. It feels safe. It becomes proof that you're doing something right, that you're worthy, that you matter. But somewhere along the way, that desire turns into dependence, and suddenly your happiness isn't in your hands anymore. It's in everyone else's. You begin to chase approval like a drug. The more you get, the more you need. Every compliment gives you a temporary high. Every criticism feels like withdrawal. And without realizing it, you start shaping your entire identity around what others think of you. You become addicted to applause, addicted to fitting in, addicted to being liked. And the worst part, you start losing yourself in the process. Because when your worth depends on other people's validation, you will always be at their mercy. Their silence becomes your insecurity. Their rejection becomes your self-doubt. Their opinion becomes your reflection. That's not love. That's dependency. And it's one of the most dangerous forms of self-abandonment there is. Think about it. How many times have you changed your behavior, your opinions, even your dreams just to avoid disapproval? How often have you said yes when you wanted to say no, just to keep the peace or to be liked? How often have you stayed quiet when your soul was screaming to speak up, because you feared being judged? You've probably told yourself, I just don't want conflict. But deep down, it's not conflict you fear. It's rejection. It's the thought that someone might not like you, might not approve of you, might see you as less. So you shrink. You soften your edges. You make yourself smaller to fit into their comfort zone. But the more you do that, the more you drift away from your true self, the self that doesn't need permission to exist. The truth is, the world doesn't need another person who pleases everyone. It needs more people who are real, people who live from their truth, even when that truth isn't applauded. The addiction to approval is subtle, but it's powerful. It disguises itself as kindness, as humility, as being a good person, but at its core, it's fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough without someone else saying so. You may have been taught that loving yourself means being selfish, that putting yourself first means you don't care about others. But that's a lie. Self-love isn't selfish, it's sanity. It's the foundation from which all real love flows. Because when you depend on others to fill your cup, you'll always feel empty. But when you learn to fill it yourself, you can finally give without losing yourself in the process. Here's a truth that will change your life. The approval you crave from others is just a reflection of the approval you're withholding from yourself. Every time you need someone to tell you you're good enough, what you're really longing for is your own acceptance. Every time you chase validation, what you truly want is permission. Permission to be who you already are. The day you stop seeking that permission is the day you begin to heal. Start small. Notice how often you say yes out of obligation, rather than authentic. Notice how often you modify your words or actions to avoid disapproval. Notice how often you silence yourself just to stay liked. And then, choose differently. Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. Say no, even when it disappoints someone. Stand firm, even when others don't understand. That's what self-love looks like in action. It's not loud or rebellious, it's simply honest. It's saying, I no longer need you to agree with me to feel at peace with myself, because real confidence doesn't come from everyone liking you. It comes from being okay when they don't. There will always be people who misunderstand you, who criticize you, who don't see your value, and that's okay. Their inability to see your worth doesn't diminish it. Their opinion doesn't rewrite your truth. You don't need universal approval to live an extraordinary life. You just need self-approval, the quiet knowing that who you are is already enough. It's time to stop performing for applause and start living for alignment. Because every time you betray your truth to please others, you tell yourself that their comfort matters more than your peace. And that's the most painful lie you can ever live. You don't need to prove your worth through achievement. You don't need to earn love through perfection. You don't need to collect praise to justify your existence. You are already worthy, not because someone says so, but because you are you. The moment you stop chasing approval, you start attracting authenticity. You start drawing in people who love you not for what you do, but for who you truly are. And that kind of love, the one that recognizes your soul, only finds you when you've stopped begging for validation from the world. So today, choose to break the cycle. Choose to reclaim your power. Choose to stop asking for permission to be enough. Approval may feel safe, but it's a fragile kind of safety. The moment you stop performing, it disappears. But self-acceptance, that's unshakable. That's the kind of peace no one can take away. You will know you've broken the addiction when you can look in the mirror and say, I approve of me, even if no one else claps, even if no one else understands. Because the truth is, you were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be loved by yourself. And when that love becomes your foundation, you will finally walk through life free, free from the need to please, free from the fear of rejection, free from the weight of expectation. In the next chapter we'll go even deeper into the voice inside your head that keeps you doubting, comparing, and questioning your worth. It's time to learn how to quiet that voice and replace it with one that speaks love instead of fear. But for now, take a breath. Let go of the need to prove. You don't need to earn your place here. You already belong. Chapter 3. The Voice in Your Head. There's a voice that follows you everywhere you go. You hear it when you wake up. You hear it when you fall asleep. It speaks the loudest when no one else is around. Sometimes it's kind, gentle, reassuring, even loving, but other times it turns against you. It whispers doubts, magnifies fears, and questions your worth. It knows your insecurities by heart, and it uses them like weapons. That voice is your inner narrator, and whether you realize it or not, It shapes your entire life. You could be walking down the street, smiling, looking fine on the outside, but inside, that voice is running commentary on everything. You're not doing enough. People don't really like you. You're never going to make it. Sound familiar? It should, because we all live with that voice, and for most of us, it's not a friend. But here's something powerful to understand. That voice is not you. It's just a story. An echo of everything you've been told, everything you've absorbed, everything you've believed. It's the leftover noise of old wounds, unhealed moments and learned patterns that have replayed for so long they started to sound like truth. The human mind is a storyteller. It constantly tries to make sense of the world, of your past, your choices, your pain, and when that story goes unchecked, it becomes your identity. You start believing, this is just who I am. But it's not who you are, it's just who you've learned to think you are. Think about the things that voice says to you every day. Would you ever say those same things to someone you love? Would you tell your best friend, you're worthless or you'll never be enough? Of course not. So why do you say it to yourself? Because somewhere deep down, that voice convinced you that cruelty is honesty, that self-criticism is discipline, that tearing yourself down is the same as pushing yourself forward. But it's not. It's just punishment dressed up as motivation. You cannot hate yourself into becoming better. You cannot shame yourself into healing. You cannot bully your mind into peace. The only way forward is to change the relationship you have with that voice. First, you must listen. Not to believe, but to understand. What does that voice sound like when it's afraid? What does it say when it feels unworthy? What patterns does it repeat? Awareness is the first step toward freedom. You see, most of your thoughts are not chosen, they're conditioned. They're habits of the mind, running on autopilot. And when you start observing them instead of obeying them, something magical happens. You create space between you and your thoughts. That space is where peace lives. Imagine standing at the edge of a river. Your thoughts are the water, constantly flowing, changing, moving. Most people jump into that river and get carried away by the current. But self-awareness is learning to stand on the bank, watching the flow without drowning in it. When that inner critic speaks, you don't have to fight it, just notice it. Smile and say, "Ah, there you are again." You don't silence the voice by force, you soften it with compassion. Here's the truth, that critical voice was created to protect you. It learned to warn you against pain, to prepare you for rejection, to keep you safe from failure. But it became overprotective, like a guard dog that barks at everything, even the people trying to love you. You can't destroy it and you don't need to. You just need to retrain it, to teach it that you are no longer in danger, that you are capable, that you can handle life with strength and grace. And how do you retrain it? With new words, new stories, new truths. When that voice says, "You can't do this," reply, "Watch me grow." When it says, "You're not enough," answer, "I'm exactly who I need to be in this moment." When it says, "You'll fail," remind it, "Failure is how I learn." Over time, the tone begins to change. The voice that once tore you down becomes one that lifts you up. Because self-love isn't just about how you treat your body or your time. It's about how you treat your mind. Your mind listens to everything you say. It doesn't know the difference between truth and repetition. If you speak negativity long enough, it becomes your reality. But if you speak love long enough, it becomes your identity. So speak love every day, even when it feels forced, especially when it feels forced, because that's when you need it most. Imagine waking up and hearing that inner voice say, "Good morning, I'm proud of you." Imagine hearing it whisper, "You're doing your best," instead of "You're falling behind." Imagine what your life would feel like if that voice became your ally, not your enemy. That's the goal. not silence, harmony, not perfection, peace. The world outside will always have noise, but when you master the voice inside, you carry calm wherever you go. Remember, your thoughts are powerful, but they are not permanent. You can rewrite them. You can teach your mind to speak differently. You can choose a new language, one rooted in love, not fear. And that choice, to speak love to yourself, is one of the most radical acts of self-respect you'll ever make. So tonight, when that inner critic starts whispering again, take a deep breath. Don't argue, don't fight, simply listen, and then respond with kindness. Tell it, thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm safe now. I've got this. The voice may not believe you at first. It might resist. It might return stronger. But keep going, because each time you choose compassion over criticism, you heal a piece of your story. And one day, you'll wake up and realize the voice in your head has changed. It's no longer against you. It's with you. It no longer doubts you. It believes in you. That's when you'll know you've truly begun to love yourself from the inside out. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it means to be alone without feeling lonely, and how solitude, instead of being a void, can become your most sacred source of strength. But before we move on, remember this: your thoughts are not your truth. You are not your doubt. You are the awareness behind the voice, the consciousness that listens, learns, and loves. And that, my friend, is where your real power begins. Chapter 4. The power of being alone. There's a quiet moment that most people run from. The moment when the noise fades, the conversations stop, and all that's left is you. For some, that silence feels peaceful, a space to breathe and reflect, but for many, it feels uncomfortable, even frightening. Because when the world grows still, the mind starts to speak, and in that stillness, you meet the one person you've spent your entire life avoiding: yourself. We live in a world addicted to distraction. Every second, there's something to scroll, to watch, to chase, to consume. We call it staying connected, but more often, it's just a way to stay away from the thoughts we don't want to face, the emotions we haven't processed, the truths we don't want to admit. But here's something life eventually teaches you. You cannot truly know peace until you make peace with being alone. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is the hunger for someone else. Solitude is the hunger to meet yourself. It's in solitude that you begin to hear your real voice, the one buried beneath all the noise and expectations. It's where you rediscover what actually matters to you, not what the world says should matter. It's where clarity begins, healing deepens, and strength grows roots. Think about it. When was the last time you truly sat in silence, without music, without a phone, without a screen, and simply allowed yourself to be? For most people, that thought feels impossible, because being alone exposes everything you've been suppressing: your fears, your guilt, your sadness, your unhealed past. But here's the paradox: those uncomfortable feelings aren't there to hurt you. They're there to free you, and you can't face what you keep drowning in noise. When you choose solitude intentionally, you're not isolating yourself, you're reconnecting with yourself. It's an act of courage, not weakness. In saying, I'm willing to meet myself where I really am, without hiding behind anyone or anything. Solitude teaches you to stand in your own presence, without needing validation. It teaches you that your worth isn't dependent on who texts you back, or who praises your work. It teaches you that peace doesn't come from attention, it comes from alignment. And once you learn to be comfortable alone, you become untouchable, because no rejection, no absence, no silence can shake someone who has learned to sit with themselves and feel whole. Let me tell you something powerful. Most breakthroughs don't happen in crowded rooms. They happen in quiet spaces, in long walks, in late-night reflections, in moments when the world forgets you, but you remember yourself. It's in those moments that you start hearing truth, not the kind spoken by others, but the kind whispered by your soul. And that voice, though quiet, is never wrong. Solitude gives you back your intuition. It sharpens your awareness. It allows you to see life not from the surface, but from its depths. You begin to sense what's right for you. Not because someone told you so, but because you can feel it, and that feeling is sacred. Yet, the irony is that most people spend their lives running from it. They fill every gap with noise, every pause with activity, every silence with stimulation. Because silence feels like emptiness. But in truth, silence is fullness. It's the space where creation happens, where ideas are born, where the soul breathes again. Every great thinker, artist, or leader in history has known the value of solitude. Not because they preferred isolation, but because they understood that without stillness, you can't hear inspiration. You can't hear wisdom. You can't hear your purpose calling your name. Being alone is how you tune your mind back to its natural frequency. It's how you remember that you are already enough. But here's the part that's often misunderstood. Solitude isn't just about spending time alone. It's about how you spend that time. If you sit in silence but fill it with self-criticism, it's not solitude, it's suffering. If you isolate out of fear or resentment, that's not healing, that's hiding. True solitude is gentle, it's honest, it's open, it's not an escape from life, it's a reconnection to life. It's the moment when you say to yourself, I'm here. I don't need to be anywhere else. I don't need to impress anyone. I just need to feel this moment fully. And in that stillness, something beautiful happens. You begin to hear gratitude again. You start noticing the small things, the sound of your breath, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the calm that comes when you stop chasing. You realize that peace was never missing. You were just too distracted to feel it. So how do you begin to build this kind of solitude into your life? Start small. Take 5 minutes a day to be alone, without any input, no phone, no music, no conversations. Just sit, breathe, and listen. At first it might feel awkward. Your mind will resist. It will beg for distraction. That's okay. It's not used to being quiet. But stay with it, because if you can't sit with your thoughts for 5 minutes, how can you expect to live with them for a lifetime? The goal is not to silence your thoughts, it's to stop being afraid of them, to see them come and go, like clouds passing across the sky, knowing that you are the sky, not the storm. Over time, solitude becomes your strength. It becomes your source of power, not your prison. You stop depending on others to fill your emptiness, because you've discovered that your soul is already full. And when you meet people from that place, from wholeness, your relationship transforms. You no longer cling, demand or chase. You simply connect, because you're not looking to be completed. You're looking to share what's already complete within you. That's the magic of being alone. It doesn't make you lonely. It makes you ready for real connection. It makes you self-aware, self-led, and self-loving. So the next time you find yourself in silence, don't rush to fill it. Don't reach for your phone. Don't run to the next distraction. Just pause and let yourself, because in that moment, you are meeting the most important person in your life, the one who's been with you through every chapter, every storm, every victory. And if you can learn to love your own company, you'll never feel alone again. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to turn solitude into creation, how the quiet within you can become the birthplace of vision, purpose, and transformation. But for now, take this with you. Peace doesn't come from escaping the world. It comes from learning to be still within it. And that stillness, that sacred silence, is where your real power begins to speak. Chapter 5. Heal what you've been carrying. There comes a point in life when you realize that the weight you're carrying isn't coming from the present, it's coming from the past. You might not see it, but it shows in how you react, how you trust, how you love. It's in the walls you build, the fears you hide, and the silence you keep when something inside you wants to scream. The truth is, we all carry something. Old wounds, unspoken pain, memories that never got the closure they deserved. Moments when we were hurt and told ourselves to just move on. But what we call moving on is often just moving away, away from what we didn't want to feel. And here's the thing about pain: what you bury alive doesn't die. It waits. It waits in the quiet corners of your heart, showing up in your relationships, your choices, your patterns. It shows up in the way you doubt yourself, the way you expect disappointment, the way you fear being too much or not enough. You can pretend you're fine, you can smile, you can work harder, you can distract yourself. But until you stop and face what's inside you, you'll always feel a part of you is missing, the part you lost trying to protect yourself. Healing starts the moment you stop running. When you finally sit with your pain instead of avoiding it, when you let the tears you've been holding back finally fall, when you admit, yes, that hurt me more than I wanted to admit. It takes courage to do that, to look at your own story and say, I deserve to heal, because for so long maybe you believed healing wasn't possible, that what's broken inside you is too deep, too damaged, too old to repair. But it's not. No matter what you've been through, you can come back from it, not as the same person you were before, but as someone stronger, softer, and infinitely more aware. Healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from its control. It's about transforming the pain into wisdom, the loss into perspective, the scars into symbols of survival. You see, love for yourself can't fully grow in soil that's filled with buried pain. You have to clear it out. You have to make space for something new to bloom. Maybe you were abandoned. Maybe you were betrayed. Maybe you were never seen or valued for who you truly are. Maybe someone made you feel small, invisible, or unworthy, and you've spent your life proving your worth to people who never even earned the right to question it. But today, right now, that cycle can end, because the person who hurt you cannot heal you. The apology you never got cannot complete you. The closure you've been waiting for might never come. But you can still choose peace. You can still choose yourself. Healing begins when you stop waiting for someone else to fix what they broke. It begins when you say, I can't change what happened, but I can change what it means to me. When you start seeing your pain not as punishment, but as a teacher, because pain, when faced honestly, becomes the most powerful mirror. It shows you what you value. It reveals where you've abandoned yourself. It teaches you empathy for yourself and for others who are fighting silent battles you'll never see. Sometimes healing looks like crying for the first time in years. Sometimes it looks like saying no to people who drain you. Sometimes it's forgiving someone, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. And sometimes it's just sitting quietly and telling yourself, I'm still here, I made it. Healing is not a single moment of breakthrough. It's a slow unfolding layer after layer, day after day. It's forgiving yourself for what you didn't know when you didn't know it. It's giving yourself permission to feel the grief, the anger, the confusion, without judging it, without rushing it away. And it's understanding that healing doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. It means pain will no longer control the direction of your life. You'll still have scars, but they'll no longer be open wounds. You'll still remember, but the memories will no longer sting. They'll simply remind you of how far you've come. The beautiful thing about healing is that it always starts inside you, but it ripples outward. When you heal, you love differently. You speak differently. You treat others with more gentleness, because you've learned what it feels like to hurt in silence. And when you finally learn to love yourself, you'll realize that the love you were chasing from others was never missing. It was waiting within you all along. Healing is a form of love. It's love that says, I will no longer abandon myself to keep someone else comfortable. It's love that says, I will no longer define myself by what broke me. It's love that says, I am worthy of my own forgiveness. So if you've been holding on to guilt, to shame, to pain, let this be your moment to begin releasing it. Not all at once, not perfectly, just one piece at a time. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, you're allowed to start over. You're allowed to let go of what no longer serves your peace. You're allowed to outgrow the version of you that was built in survival, because you are not your past. You are the person who lived through it. You are the one who endured, adapted, and is still standing. And that strength, that resilience, is the proof that healing is already happening within you. Every scar is a reminder. You've been through darkness before, and you made it out. You've fallen and risen again. You've been hurt and still found a way to love. That's not weakness, that's your power. So as you move forward, let your heart stay open. Let forgiveness, for yourself, for others, for life, become your quiet revolution. Not because you're forgetting the pain, but because you're reclaiming your peace. And as you do, something incredible will happen. The past will stop pulling you backward. You'll stop repeating the same stories, and you'll begin to write new ones, stories filled with clarity, compassion, and calm. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to rebuild self-worth after pain, how to rise from the ashes of what broke you, and finally see yourself not as damaged, but as divine. But for now, hold on to this truth. Healing is not about becoming who you were before. It's about becoming who you were meant to be, whole, free, and finally at peace within yourself. Chapter 6. The Power of Focused Energy. Have you ever felt like you're giving your all, yet somehow you're not moving forward? Like your energy is being poured into 1,000 little cracks instead of one powerful stream. It's one of life's most frustrating feelings, working hard, staying busy but never really breaking through. You wake up tired, you go to bed restless, you're doing everything right, but deep down you know something's missing. That missing piece is focus, not the kind of focus that lasts for a few minutes before you check your phone. I'm talking about deep, sustained, undistracted focus, the kind that can move mountains, reshape your destiny, and make time itself seem to bend around your purpose. Because here's the truth, energy without direction is chaos. You can be talented, passionate, and full of potential, but if that energy is scattered, it will never create real power. It's like sunlight, spread out, it's warm, but when you concentrate it through a magnifying glass, it can start a fire. Your mind works the same way. When you learn to focus your energy, to gather it, sharpen it, and aim it towards something that truly matters, you ignite a force inside you that's unstoppable. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. Think about it. Every major transformation in your life began when you decided to focus, when you stopped chasing everything and started pursuing one thing with everything you had. That moment of commitment, that narrowing of your energy, is where true change begins. But focus doesn't come naturally. The world is built to steal it from you. Every vibration, every notification, every open tab and endless scroll is designed to scatter your attention. You live in an economy of distraction, where your focus is the most valuable currency you own, and every time you give it away, you lose a little piece of yourself. That's why the ability to focus isn't just a skill, it's a form of strength. It's self-control in its purest form, because when you control where your attention goes, you control your reality. Let's make this practical. Imagine your day as a container of energy. You wake up with a certain amount of mental fuel, limited and precious. Now most people spill it everywhere. They start the day checking messages, reacting to small things, switching between tasks, conversations and emotions. By noon they're mentally drained, emotionally scattered, and physically exhausted. yet they haven't moved an inch closer to their real goals. Now imagine a different approach. You guard that energy like gold. You decide where it goes, when it's spent, and what it's worth. You pour it into one or two meaningful things, the ones that actually move the needle in your life. That's focus, and it changes everything. When you work with focus, you enter a state of flow, that rare, beautiful rhythm, where everything feels clear and effortless. Time slows down, distractions fade away. Your mind and your purpose become one. It's not just productivity, it's alignment. It's your soul and your actions moving in the same direction. But here's what most people don't realize. Focus is not something you find, it's something you train. It's a discipline, a daily practice of saying no to what doesn't serve you, so you can say a full, powerful yes to what does. Every time you resist a distraction, your focus grows stronger. Every time you choose depth over noise, your power increases. Every time you silence the pull of instant gratification, you build the muscle of mastery. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't superhuman. They're simply people who have learned to direct their energy with precision. They don't waste effort. They don't chase everything. They channel their strength like a laser, straight, clear, and stoppable. And that's what you're capable of too. So ask yourself right now, where is your energy going? What are you feeding with your attention? Because whatever you focus on grows. If you feed fear, it grows. If you feed doubt, it grows. But if you feed purpose, belief, and discipline, they grow too. Your focus is a form of power. And when you give that power to the wrong things, you drain your life. But when you give it to the right things, the ones that build you, strengthen you, move you, you awaken something within you that feels unstoppable. Start small. Choose one area of your life that truly matters. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your discipline. Maybe it's the vision you've been putting off for years. Focus your energy there, fully, deeply, consistently. Cut away the noise, ignore the unnecessary, and pour yourself into that one thing until it grows roots. Because what grows from focus doesn't fade. It becomes part of who you are. And once you feel the power of focused energy, you'll never want to go back to a scattered life again. The world will always try to pull your attention away. It will tempt you with shortcuts, distractions, and shiny detours. But remember this, nothing is more magnetic than a human being who knows exactly where they're going. They move differently, they speak differently, they radiate a kind of calm certainty that others can feel. That's the energy of focus. Quiet, steady, and unstoppable. So as this chapter closes, make a silent promise to yourself. No more wasting your energy on what doesn't matter. No more being everywhere but never fully present anywhere. From this moment on, you direct your energy like a force of nature, intentional, precise, and alive with purpose. Because when your focus aligns with your purpose, you become a weapon against mediocrity, and the world can't ignore that kind of power. Now that you've learned how to gather and aim your energy, it's time to go deeper, to learn how to sustain it when life tests your limit. Because the real challenge isn't just finding focus, it's keeping it alive when everything tries to pull you apart. And that is where our next chapter begins. Chapter 7. When life tests your focus. There will come a time when everything you've built, your discipline, your focus, your calm, will be tested. Not by your enemies, not by your failures, but by the chaos of life itself. You'll wake up one day, ready to give your best, and the world will hit you from every side. Plans will fall apart. People will disappoint you. Your progress will feel invisible, and in that moment, the question will rise, can you still stay centered when the storm arrives? Because anyone can focus when life is smooth. Anyone can stay motivated when everything is working, but true mastery is measured by how steady you remain when the noise gets loud, when distractions multiply, and when doubt whispers in your ear that maybe it's all too much. This chapter is about those moments, the hard ones, the heavy ones, where life tests your focus, not to break you, but to strengthen your resolve. It's in these trials that you discover whether your focus is real or just convenient. Let's be honest, distraction isn't always external. Sometimes the loudest noise comes from inside you. Your fears, your insecurities, your impatience. You want progress to move faster. You want results now. And when they don't come on your timeline, your mind starts to wander, searching for an easier path. That's when you lose your edge. That's when your focus begins to fade, not because you can't stay focused, but because you forgot why you were focused in the first place. So let's go deeper. Why does life test your focus? Because growth demands resistance. Just like muscles only grow when pushed beyond comfort, your mind strengthens when your focus is challenged. Every distraction, every setback, every moment of frustration is not an interruption. It's training. It's sharpening your ability to hold your attention steady even when everything around you tries to shake it loose. Think of it like standing in a storm. The wind howls, the rain stings your face, and visibility is almost zero. Most people panic, run for shelter, and wait for it to pass. But the strong, they stand firm. They breathe, they ground themselves, and they focus on one step at a time until they walk through it. That's how you must train your focus, not in comfort, but in chaos. Every time life gets hard, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's showing you that focus is more than concentration. It's trust. Trust that even if you can't see the finish line, the direction is still right. Trust that every small effort still matters, even when it doesn't yet show result. Trust that silence and slow progress are not signs of failure, they're signs of building something real. Because here's the truth most people miss. Losing focus isn't a single moment, it's a slow drift. It happens in the little compromises you justify. Checking your phone for just a minute, skipping a habit just this once, giving half your energy because you're tired today, and before you know it, the fire that once burned bright becomes a flicker. But the beautiful thing about focus is you can always return to it. No matter how far you've drifted, no matter how distracted you've become, you can always come back. It starts with awareness, catching yourself in the act of distraction, and choosing, consciously, to come back to center, to breathe, to refocus, to remember your why. Life will always test you at the exact point where your growth is about to expand. Right when you're about to level up, you'll be given distractions dressed as opportunities, temptations disguised as comfort, and doubts disguised as logic. It's almost as if life is asking, are you sure you're ready for what you said you wanted? And your response, your ability to stay focused through that test, is your answer. So when the world feels heavy, don't fight the test. Embrace it. Let it reveal how much strength you've actually built. Because every storm that doesn't break you, builds you. Every challenge that doesn't defeat you deepens you. And every time you refuse to quit, your focus becomes a weapon of unshakable power. Here's a truth to carry with you. Focus is not about forcing your mind to stay still. It's about returning to your purpose, over and over, no matter how many times you drift. It's not perfection, it's persistent. The power isn't in never getting distracted. It's in your ability to come back faster each time you do. So when you feel like everything is falling apart, remind yourself, it's not falling apart, it's falling into place. This is what growth looks like. It's messy, it's uncertain, it's uncomfortable, but it's also where transformation is born. Keep your eyes on the vision, not the noise. Focus on what's within your control, your actions, your energy, your effort, and let everything else fade into the background. The chaos around you will settle when the calm within you strengthens. Remember, storms don't last forever, but what you become during them will last a lifetime. The patience you develop, the resilience you build, the focus you train, That's the foundation of greatness. So when life tests your focus again, and it will, don't ask, why me? Ask instead, what is this building in me? Because nothing is wasted. Not the delays, not the detours, not the days when you have to push yourself just to keep going. Every one of them is part of your training. And when you emerge on the other side, stronger, calmer, sharper, you'll realize the storm didn't destroy your focus. It revealed it. Now that you've learned how to stand strong when life tests your focus, it's time to explore what comes next, how to transform that strength into clarity. Because once you learn to hold your focus through the storm, the next step is learning how to see through it, how to find direction when the path isn't visible yet. And that's where the next chapter begins, the art of seeing beyond the noise and trusting the vision that only you can see. Chapter 8. See beyond the noise. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing on a mountain surrounded by fog. You can't see what lies ahead. The path is hidden, the horizon blurred, and every step forward feels uncertain. But here's the thing, the mountain hasn't disappeared. The path is still there. The summit still exists. You just can't see it yet. That's what life feels like sometimes. You know where you want to go, you know what you're working toward, but the fog of doubt, fear, and confusion blinds your vision. You start questioning your direction. You start wondering if all your effort means anything at all. And in that fog, most people stop walking. They wait for clarity before moving. They wait for perfect certainty before acting. But those who rise in life, those who create something extraordinary, they don't wait for the fog to clear. They move through it, step by step, trusting the direction even when they can't see the destination. This chapter is about that kind of vision, the kind that doesn't rely on sight, but on faith. It's about learning to see beyond the noise, beyond what's visible, and trusting the quiet knowing inside you that says, keep going. Because here's the truth, the noise will never fully disappear. There will always be doubt. There will always be opinions, distractions, and fears whispering that maybe you're not enough. Maybe it's too late, maybe it won't work. But vision, true vision, isn't about avoiding the noise. It's about focusing so deeply on what matters that everything else fades into the background. When you can't see what's next, focus on what's now. Focus on the step in front of you. The journey only unfolds as you move forward. Every action you take, every small choice you make, clears a little more of that fog. You see, clarity doesn't come from waiting, it comes from moving. You can't think your way into purpose, you have to walk into it. And sometimes, the next step will only appear after you've taken the first one. There's a power that awakens inside you when you trust your inner direction more than the outer noise. It's a quiet strength. It doesn't scream, it doesn't rush, it doesn't seek approval, it just moves forward. Consistently, patiently, unshakably. And the deeper truth, you already have this power. You've had it your whole life, the ability to see with your inner eye, to sense what's right for you even when logic disagrees. You've felt it in your gut when something didn't align. You've heard it as a whisper, telling you to keep going when everything else said stop. That voice is your compass, it's your truth, trying to guide you through the noise, but most people never hear it clearly, because their lives are too loud. They're constantly scrolling, comparing, reacting, drowning in other people's opinions, trends and timelines, and the more they consume, the less they see. Their inner clarity becomes buried under layers of mental clutter. If you want to see beyond the noise, you must learn to become still. You must create moments of silence, not for the sake of peace, but for the sake of perception. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of awareness. It's where truth lives. When you slow down, when you breathe, when you detach from the endless noise of the world, you start to notice things. You begin to feel your intuition speaking. You begin to sense direction, even if you can't fully explain it. And you begin to realize you were never lost, you were just distracted. The real clarity you're looking for doesn't come from knowing everything ahead. It comes from trusting that you'll handle whatever comes. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the next step. You just need enough light to move forward. And the more you move with trust, the more that light expands. Each decision, each action, becomes another flame guiding you through the darkness. Until one day, you look back and realize, the fog was never there to block you. It was there to build you, because in learning to move without seeing, you developed something stronger than sight. You developed vision. And vision is not about what the eyes see, it's about what the heart knows. Let me tell you something powerful. The people who create the impossible didn't start with certainty, they started with faith. They started with a dream that only made sense to them. They were told it won't work, you're too late, you're too inexperienced, but they saw something no one else could. And they protected that vision fiercely, even when no one believed in it. That's what seeing beyond the noise looks like. So ask yourself, what vision inside you have you been doubting? Because the world can't see it yet. What dream have you buried under logic and fear? You don't owe anyone proof before you begin. You just owe yourself the chance to try. When you see beyond the noise, your decisions stop coming from fear and start coming from alignment. You stop asking, what will people think? And start asking, does this feel true for me? You stop chasing validation and start creating meaning. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. This is the moment where you reclaim your focus, not just for survival but for vision. It's no longer about doing what looks right. It's about doing what feels right. It's no longer about waiting for perfect clarity. It's about walking with faith. And yes, there will still be uncertainty. There will still be setbacks, and times when you feel like you've lost your way. But remember this, you can't lose your way if the way lives within you. Your vision doesn't need permission. It needs commitment. The noise of the world may try to drown it out, but your purpose, that quiet pulse inside your chest, is always there waiting for you to listen again. So keep moving. Keep believing. Keep seeing with your heart even when your eyes can't yet confirm it. Because one day, what you saw in silence will become visible to everyone else, and they'll call it luck, or timing, or destiny. But you'll know it was faith all along. And as you learn to see beyond the noise, the next chapter unfolds, how to live from that vision. Not just to see it, but to embody it, every choice, every habit, every action aligned with what you truly want to become. Because clarity is not just about seeing the truth, it's about becoming it. And that's where we go next. Chapter 9. The Power of Relentless Consistency. There's a quiet power that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's not luck, it's not genius, it's not even passion, it's consistency. The discipline to keep showing up long after the excitement fades. Think about it. Most people start strong. They begin with fire in their hearts and light in their eyes. They talk about goals. They post about progress. They imagine success vividly. But slowly, they stop. They get tired, distracted, or discouraged. And that's where the real battle begins. Not in the beginning, but in the middle. Consistency isn't glamorous, it's not dramatic, it doesn't get applause, it happens in silence when no one's watching, when no one's cheering, when no one even knows what you're doing. It's built in those small invisible choices that don't seem to matter, but they do. Every morning you get up early when you don't want to, every time you push yourself to stay focused for just one more hour, every moment you resist the urge to quit. That's where greatness takes shape. Success is not made in moments of intensity, it's made in moments of repetition. The best never wait for motivation, they rely on consistency. Motivation may start the engine, but consistency keeps it running when the road gets rough. You see, motivation is emotional. It comes and goes like the weather, but consistency is a decision. It's the steady flame that burns even when the wind howls. It's waking up tired and choosing to act anyway. It's showing up when you're uninspired, doing the work when no one notices, and holding yourself to a higher standard every single day. Let's be honest, consistency feels boring. It's not exciting to do the same thing day after day. But that's the paradox. What feels ordinary today becomes extraordinary over time. Small efforts, repeated daily, compound into massive transformation. That's the magic of consistency. It's slow, it's quiet, but it's unstoppable. When you commit to being consistent, you change the game. You stop chasing perfection and start mastering progress. You stop waiting for the right moment and realize every moment is the right one. You stop trying to predict results and start trusting the process. The truth is, success rarely announces itself with fireworks. It shows up quietly in the form of momentum, growth, and mastery. It's the athlete who trains every morning before sunrise. It's the writer who writes even when the words don't flow. It's the student who studies long after the others stop. It's the entrepreneur who keeps going after 100 failed attempts. Consistency doesn't just build habits, it builds identity. Every act of follow-through reinforces the message. I am someone who keeps promises to myself, and that's the foundation of unshakable confidence. Because once you know you can depend on yourself, everything changes. You stop needing external validation. You stop negotiating with excuses. You develop a quiet strength, the kind that says, I'll do it anyway. But make no mistake, consistency will test you. It will ask you to show up when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or uncertain. It will challenge your patience. It will confront your doubts. It will demand discipline when your emotions want escape. And yet, that's exactly how it shapes you. Every time you overcome resistance, you grow stronger. Every time you push through fatigue, your resilience expands. Every time you stay the course, you sharpen your edge. Consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. You will fall, you will slip, you will fail. That's inevitable. But what defines you is not how often you fall, it's how quickly you get back up. The secret is to shorten the gap between failure and action. Don't wait for days, weeks, or months to restart. Restart immediately. That's how momentum is built, not by never falling, but by refusing to stay down. There's a rhythm to growth, and consistency is the beat that keeps it alive. If you keep showing up, your mind adapts, your body evolves, your results accelerate. What once felt hard becomes effort. What once seemed impossible becomes familiar. You realize that mastery isn't a mystery, it's a product of time and repetition. The most powerful thing you can do is make consistency your identity. Not something you do, but something you are. Be the person who doesn't give up, the one who keeps the promise long after the feeling fades, because that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. One day, all those small, unremarkable actions will add up. You'll look back and realize you've built something incredible. Not overnight, but through steady, patient, relentless effort. That's the beauty of consistency. It rewards those who refuse to stop. And here's the truth most people overlook. Consistency frees you. It removes the constant decision-making, the endless debate between doing or not doing. It simplifies life into one powerful truth. I show up. Once that becomes who you are, you no longer fight yourself. You just move forward. Every day becomes a brick. Every action, a stroke of progress. You don't see the wall at first, but it's being built quietly, piece by piece, until one day you look around and realize you've built a fortress of discipline, strength, and purpose. That's the power of relentless consistency. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it just keeps going until it wins. So if you ever wonder how to get ahead, how to reach that next level, don't search for shortcuts. Search for consistency. Show up today, show up tomorrow, show up again and again, until showing up becomes your nature. Because in the end, success doesn't belong to the talented, the lucky, or the inspired. It belongs to the consistent, the ones who never stop moving forward, no matter what. And as we step into the next chapter, remember this truth. Consistency turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers, but to sustain it, you must master something deeper, the art of resilience. Because when the storms come, and they always do, it's not consistency alone that keeps you standing. It's the strength within you to rise, rebuild, and continue. That's where we go next. Chapter 10. Becoming your own greatest ally. Close your eyes and imagine standing in front of a mirror. Not just any mirror, but one that reflects every truth you've ever tried to hide. Every fear, every failure, every scar. Now imagine looking deeper, past the imperfections, past the judgments, past the endless comparisons, and seeing yourself for who you truly are. Not who you think you should be. Not who the world expects you to be, but the real, unshakable you. This is the final step in your journey, becoming your own greatest ally, the person who stands firmly beside you, even when the world whispers doubts, the voice in your head that no longer criticizes, but encourages, the presence in your life that refuses to let you settle for less than your potential. Too many of us live in constant opposition to ourselves. We fight our own desires, sabotage our own dreams, and whisper words of doubt that cut deeper than any external critique. We expect love, patience, and support from everyone else, but forget to give it to ourselves first. And until we do, the world's validation will always feel temporary, fragile, and insufficient. Being your own ally begins with acknowledgement. You cannot fight yourself into love. You cannot force belief into your being through sheer willpower alone. You must start by seeing yourself clearly, celebrating your victories, mourning your losses, and embracing the contradictions that make you human. You must say, I see you, I hear you, I honor you. Think of a time when someone stood by you, unwavering, during your darkest hour. Remember how powerful that felt. That is the power you can give to yourself every single day. That is the kind of ally you deserve, unwavering, compassionate, and persistent. And here's the profound truth. When you become your own ally, life begins to unfold differently. Obstacles lose their ability to intimidate you because you are no longer waiting for permission to move forward. Criticism loses its sting because your sense of worth is grounded in self-acceptance, not external approval. And fear becomes a tool, not a prison, a signal, not a barrier. Being your own ally doesn't mean ignoring mistakes or denying growth. It means holding yourself accountable without hatred. It means correcting course without self-attack. It means confronting weakness with curiosity instead of judgment. When you treat yourself as a trusted friend, you create a space for courage, resilience, and creativity to flourish. Consider the ways you've been your own enemy. Perhaps it's in words you've spoken under your breath, doubts you've harbored in silence, or choices you've made out of fear rather than alignment. Each moment you've turned against yourself has been a lesson, a guidepost pointing you toward the ally you have yet to fully embrace. And now is the time to transform that relationship. Begin with small, deliberate acts. Speak kindly to yourself when you falter. Celebrate the smallest victories. Forgive the choices you made with less awareness. Choose actions that align with your highest values, not just what feels easy. These are not trivial steps. They are seismic shifts in how you inhabit your own life. Every act of self-alliance compounds. Every choice to stand with yourself, rather than against yourself, builds momentum. Over time, it rewires the way you experience the world. Challenges become invitations instead of threats. Critiques become information instead of judgment. And you begin to notice the support encouragement, and love you've been searching for outside always existed inside. Imagine waking up each morning with a companion who is steadfast, wise, and endlessly patient. A companion who reminds you of your capabilities, who points out your blind spots without shaming you, and who celebrates progress with genuine delight. That companion is you. That ally is you. And once you claim that role fully, nothing can shake the foundation of your self-trust. Now, as you reflect on this journey, recognize that loving yourself more than anyone else is not arrogance. It is not selfishness. It is clarity. It is the acknowledgement that the quality of your life, the depth of your joy, and the scope of your impact all hinge on the relationship you have with yourself. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your choices, they ripple outward into every corner of your existence. When you are your own ally, the world becomes a reflection of your inner strength, rather than a source of your validation. Relationships deepen because you no longer seek to fill voids with others. Work and creativity flourish because you are guided by alignment rather than fear. And every challenge becomes an opportunity to demonstrate the loyalty, love, and courage you've cultivated within. This is not an endpoint. Becoming your own greatest ally is a lifelong practice. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when the noise of the world threatens to drown out your inner voice. But if you return to this foundation, if you continue to stand with yourself, even when it is difficult, you will find that your internal compass never falters for long. So today, make the commitment. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you deeply care for. Protect your dreams as you would protect a loved one's heart. Celebrate your existence. Honor your journey, and insist on your own presence with compassion and courage. Stand beside yourself, unwaveringly, through triumphs and failures alike, because when you become your own greatest ally, you unlock a freedom unlike any other. You are no longer a prisoner of external approval. You are no longer hostage to fear or self-doubt. You are no longer waiting for someone else to tell you your worth. You are whole. You are empowered. You are unstoppable. And as this journey comes full circle, carry this truth forward. The love, trust, and respect you cultivate for yourself is the seed from which every other blessing grows. It is the force that shapes your life, your choices, and the legacy you leave behind. From this day forward, stand with yourself, protect yourself, cheer for yourself, and watch as your life transforms. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You are your own greatest ally, and that is the most powerful relationship you will ever have.